The Texas rig is probably what most of us caught our very first bass on. It's super easy to use and fish because of its snagless design. However, there are several different ways that you could fish the Texas rig incorrectly. Let's go over some of the mistakes that you may make while fishing the Texas rig. Overall, there are three main types of hooks that people like to use on their Texas rig. The first is an EWG hook. The second is a worm hook, and then the third is a straight shanked hook. Now, whatever hook you decide to use for your Texas rig is just fine. Just make sure it's a high quality hook with a sharp point. Don't let it get bent or dull, otherwise it might cost you some fish. A mistake that I see a lot of bass anglers make is not taking the wire gauge of their hook into consideration. On those long casts, you're going to want to use a lighter wire hook so you can overcome the stretch of your line. Now, on those shorter techniques, such as flipping, yeah, you're going to still want to use a heavier gauged hook because you got to overcome brush and weeds and that kind of thing. I personally like to use these Gamakatsu offset shank worm EWG hooks. They are typically lighter wire than most hooks. They're ultra high quality and ultra sharp. Another mistake that I see a lot of guys make is rigging their worms too deep, having way too much above the eye of their hook. All this really does is waste a lot of money because you're going to tear up a lot more worms this way. I understand the thinking that having the hook further down on a big worm may actually help you hook up a bass. However, most bass inhale big worms within 2 inhales. So all you really need to do is a couple second delay and let the fish finish inhaling your worm. This will save you a lot of money down the road and a lot of headache from having to re-rig worms. When rigging your big worms, you should make sure you just cover the eye of the hook with the end of your worm. When this gets tore up, you just bite a 1/4 inch off and you still have most of your worm left. Unlike the other method where you would lose everything above and then you're just gonna need a new worm. A huge mistake that I see a lot of anglers make is not thinking about the fall rate of their bait for the conditions that they're fishing. Let me give you a few pointers on what I think about when I'm considering the fall rate. First, let's talk about the faster fall rates. Now, when I mean faster, it's kind of relative here. You could be using a 1/2 ounce, 3/4 ounce, or a 1 ounce weight. We're just talking a faster fall rate, so feel free to experiment with this. But some conditions that you may consider for a faster fall rate are warmer weather or very clear water. That way the fish doesn't get a good look at your lure. Now, on the slower side of things, I may go as far down as to a 1/8 ounce weight to get that slower fall rate. And obviously we're going to use slower fall rates for colder water, less activity in the water, and a little dingier water. We want to make as much noise as possible while keeping the bait in the relative area so it's easier for a fish to track. One last thing on fall rates, you want to take in consideration the bait that you're using as far as fall rate, because this Senko Texas rigged is going to have a whole lot faster fall rate than this creature bait Texas rigged. Now, if you're enjoying this video and you're learning something from it, make sure you subscribe to the channel and like this video. A question that I get quite often is, do I peg my Texas rig weights? And the answer is most of the time, no. I only peg my Texas rigs a round wooded cover. This helps prevent snag ups. Now, I believe a pegged Texas rig makes the bait look more robotic. I like the more natural, flowy look that an unpegged Texas rig has. So keep that in mind, a peg is not always needed. Something else that a lot of people don't take into consideration is how loud the conditions are that they're fishing. Wind is a very loud condition, dirty water is kind of a loud condition, and a lot of boat traffic is a loud condition. So fish may need sound to help locate your Texas rig. And that's why a lot of people will put a B between the weight and their hook on their Texas rigs. You can also insert a little glass rattle into your plastic of your Texas rig if you would like, but I kind of like the bead method the best because, well, you can't really lose a bead unless you break off. I absolutely love fishing the Texas rig, but I also love fishing Keitechs. If you want to know more about how to fish a Keitech, check this video out right over here. But until next time, see you later, fishing fam.